Hey, Clark Sharks. I'm here to read you one of my very called Blackie, the Horse Who Stood Still. This book is by Christopher Surf and Paige Patterson. In a pasture in Kansas, one early spring morn, a horse quite unlike other horses was born. His coat was coal black, so they named the horse Blackie. And before long, folks found out he was wacky. See, most colts are frisky, but Blackie was not. Blackie liked standing still. Yes, he liked it a lot. What's the hurry, he thought Blackie. There's so much to see. Standing here in the shade of a juniper tree. There are hawks, there are rabbits, there's freshly mown hay, and sunsets to watch at the end of the day. So I don't want to gallop, I don't want to race. Let the other colts move. I'll just stand in one place. Now, most of the people who was bred felt that Blackie was useless, and here's what they said. What good is a horse that won't run and won't jump? A horse who just stands in one place like a lump. But one day a rodeo cowboy came by and said, Blackie, I'm willing to give you a try. Roping bulls at a gallop is tricky indeed, but a horse who stands still? Hey, you're just what I need. I won't leave this field, Blackie thought. I hate change. I won't budge from my sweet Kansas home on the range. Moving's out of the question from my point of view, because I might miss the world passing by if I do. If I give you a big cube of sugar to lick, would that change your mind? Would that do the trick? Asked the cowboy, but Blackie just shook his head no. I'm a horse who stays put and I'm not going to go. But the man said, well, let's see, what else can I find? These carrots and apples might just change your mind. Sugar, carrots, and apples, thought Blackie. How tasty. I think my refusal to go was too hasty. And he grabbed all the food and he whooped it all down and he got in the truck and they drove right out of town. For hundreds of miles, they sped on without rest till they reached California, a state way out west. The rodeo man had a house in Salinas. When they got there, he said, hey, Blackie, just between us, the rodeo here is a no, so let's get right on over and put on a show. They arrived at the rodeo just after 2, and the rider told Blackie just what they would do. I'll sit on your back and you'll stand still as a statue, and I'll rope all the bulls as they come running at you. And stand still he did, and it made him a hero. His rider roped 10 bulls, and the others roped 0. The crowd was astounded. They cheered with great force for the new roping champ and his standing still horse. They're amazing, folks cried. They're unique, they're the best, and their fame quickly spread all across the Southwest. Well, for years it continued. They couldn't be beat. There ain't, they said their rivals, no point in competing. But at last, Father Time made the cowboy's skills fade. When Blackie grew older, his back became swayed. So the cowboy retired, and he fought back a tear and said, Blackie, this ends your bull roping career, because not one other rider has got enough skill to rope bulls from a swayback old horse who stands still. There's no work for you here, but I found a great remedy, an exciting new job on patrol in Yosemite. Blackie neighed in a tone that was most disapproving. Patrolling, he thought, can't be done without moving. So I won't leave this spot. You can try what you will. When you get tired of trying, I'll still be standing still. Then a tall army captain who was standing close by strode right up to Blackie and smiled and said, hi. I can tell you're a horse who admires nature's grandeur. So come with me now, and I can say with all candor, if you'll join my troop in Yosemite Valley, I'll give you a job that's right up your alley. a job you can do without having to move. So Blackie, I beg you, please say you'll approve. And because you hate change, just to sweeten the deal, you'll get 10 lumps of sugar as part of each meal. 10 lumps of sugar, thought Blackie. Great diet. I won't have to move. Yeah, might as well try it. And try it he did. And the captain came through and gave him a job that he just loved to do. The captain explained, just stand still as you can, with me up on your back near Mount El Capitan, or Yosemite Falls, or some Torres de Soto, and let folks who come to the park take our photo. The visitor snapshot showed sudden improvement. They were sharp thanks to Blackie's complete lack of movement, and for efforts exceeding the mere call of duty in helping to showcase Yosemite's beauty, a trophy was given, saluting the skill of Blackie, the wonderful horse who stood still. But when Blackie reached 12, a doctor came by and examined him closely and said with a sigh, for this horse's own safety, I'm forced to decide that the years have made Blackie too swayback to ride. And he sent Blackie off to a place by the bay where horses too old to be ridden could stay. And if you've read this far, then you already know it took hundreds of carrots to get him to go. Well, the army thought Blackie would never be sold. He was simply too motionless, swayback and old. But in just a few days, they found out they were wrong when a horse-loving oysterman happened along. Anthony Connell's my name, said the man, and I've come here to take a horse home in my van. But the horse that I want must stand perfectly still. By chance, have you got one that might fit the bill? You're in luck, said a soldier. It seems that we do. Come this way, Mr. Connell, and I'll show him to you. Blackie's his name, but he's too old to work. So why would you want him? He asked with a smirk. I don't want him to work, Mr. Connell replied, in the tone of a man who would not be denied. I just want him to stand in one spot every day while I'm gathering the oysters in Richardson Bay, so that when I glance up to enjoy the store scenery, I'll know where to find him amongst all the greenery. The army man shrugged and said, have it your way. This horse is yours, just as long as you pay. Mr. Connell said sure, and he wrote out a check and grabbed onto the rope tied around Blackie's neck. And as he did, he told Blackie, what a pleasure you'll give while I watch you standing still near the ark where I live. My home's up in Tiburon, under a ridge, with a glorious view of the Golden Gate Bridge. Blackie thought, standing still? How bad could that be? No, I don't care for change, but this sounds fine to me. So I marched without protest straight into the van, and they drove past that beautiful Golden Gate span that had only been finished a short time before, and pulled up at a field on the Tiburon shore. What a beautiful place, Blackie thought when they got there. You simply can't wait to stand in one spot there and watch the gull soar or a tree gently sway, or the fog rolling in from the hills across the bay, or a train up on the trestle up high overhead, or a blue heron putting her nestlings to bed. As the cars on the Tiburon road passed him by, the folks waved at Blackie as if to say hi, and the people in railroad cars always waved too, when the pasture where Blackie stood came into view. The word quickly spread about the new horse in town, and from all around the county, young kids headed down to the pasture where Blackie could always be found, standing still like a rock in the same patch of ground. They brought apples and carrots and sugar to munch on for Blackie for supper, to breakfast or sup or have lunch on. They just loved how he grabbed every morsel and then how he chewed up fast and then stopped moving again. And when Blackie slowed down just to take in the view, the kids saw him do it, and they did it too. And they learned in the process what joy can be found in just quietly standing there, looking around. For year after year, things stayed almost the same. The travelers still waved, and the children still came. Like Blackie himself, it seemed time had stood still. I love it, thought Blackie, and I always will. But although folks hardly noticed, the town by the bay was actually changing a little each day. More people moved in, and they brought cars and trucks, leaving less room for flowers, bunnies, and ducks. With everyone driving, the railroad closed down. They tore down the trestle, and people in town started griping that traffic had slowed to a crawl. Thought Blackie, I don't like these changes at all. Then a shopping mall builder exclaimed, hey, I know, a great spot where a super highway could go. Besides, no one lives in this place by the bay, but a useless old nag who just stands there all day. Yes, I'll pave the place over, run a road right through it. I'll put up the world's biggest mall right next to it. Traffic will flow. I'll be richer by far, said the man, and he laughed as he lit up a cigar. The very next morning, the shopping mall man called the townsfolk together and told them his plan. The reaction to what he presented was strong. He thought they would love it, but boy, was he wrong. No way, said the mayor, wiping sweat from his forehead. Blackie does not like change, and this change is horrid. From Blackie, we've learned not to squander what's dear to us, and he and his pasture have nothing to fear from us. Well, the shopping mall mogul left town in a huff, but the town had to deal with that traffic jam stuff. So they widened the road by the pasture a tad and hoped that their idea wouldn't make Blackie mad. Now it's true that the change in the road was quite small, but of course Blackie's motto was no change at all. So he dug in his heels and they just couldn't goad, help him cut the ribbon to open the road. They tried carrots and apples and even some fudge, but nothing they offered could get him to budge. So they gave up. They put their food back on the shelf, and finally the mayor cut the ribbon himself. The crowd clapped and said, what a great day it's been. And they all cheered for Blackie not giving in. And as the weeks passed, Blackie savored the sound, and he was prouder than ever that he stood his ground. I've lived 40 years, and my life's been the best, Blackie mused as he watched the sun sink in the west. And he chuckled, recalling the doctor who thought him too old at the time Mr. Connell had bought him. Now for 28 years, old Blackie had kept standing up in his pasture each night as he slept. But this evening felt different. A sudden stiff breeze chilled his bones as the winter moon rose through the trees. He said to himself, gee, I feel kind of beat. He yawned and he laid down in the grass neath his feet. Blackie dreamed peaceful dreams till the morning, but then he still felt too weary to stand up again. They sent for a vet who examined him closely. When both asked what was wrong, the vet answered morosely, he's plain tuckered out. And he started to weep. And the very next night, Blackie died in his sleep. Well, Blackie was buried right there where he lay, in his beautiful pasture by Richardson Bay. And the Tiburon families filed by him for hours, bringing apples and carrots and sugar and flowers, which they carefully placed as they fought back their tears on the grave of the horse they had loved all those years. Then the newspaper published a big editorial suggesting the town build a Blackie memorial. A statue, they said, for our old swayback steed, standing proud in his pasture, is just what we need. The statue won't move, just like Blackie before it. It'll be our town symbol, and folks will adore it. Well, the statue was built, and if you stop and stare out at Blackie's old pasture, you'll still feel he's there. He fought against change, and now his field never will. Thanks to Blackie, the wonderful horse who stood still. The back of this book is a picture of the author and the illustrator with the statue. That was Blackie, the horse who stood still. I hope you're having a wonderful spring break, and we'll see you back at Clark soon.